Last week, I presented something to my community that I had been putting together for a while. It was a breakdown of what is actually happening in AI right now, the deeper pattern underneath all the headlines and not just the surface level stuff. And something quite surprising happened. People started taking screenshots mid-section and they started asking for the slides. And they were asking, okay, but what's my piece of this? Where do I fit in? And that reaction told me that I needed to make this video. So here is where I want to start. OpenAI recently closed the largest private funding round in the history of technology. The post-money valuation was between 840 to 850 billion. Now, I'm not here to talk about the number itself. I want to talk about who was in the room. Amazon, $50 billion. Nvidia, $30 billion. SoftBank, 30 billion. Now, think about that for a second. Amazon runs the cloud infrastructure that OpenAI trains on. Nvidia makes the chips that power every single one of OpenAI's models. SoftBank is already co-building Stargate, which is the 500 billion AI infrastructure project that OpenAI is anchoring. So basically, your cloud provider, your chip supplier, and your infrastructure partner all investing in the same company at the same time. And if we rewind time a little bit, just before that, Microsoft was still the largest investor who bought a 27% stake. It was still central to OpenAI's commercial structure with a major ownership stake, deep IP rights, and Azure still sitting at the center of the API layer. Now that is not a funding round, it is a map. So in this video, I'm going to show you what it's a map of, okay? The 5 layers that control everything in AI, who is locking them down right now, and most importantly, the one layer where someone building an AI business today can still compete, can still win, and can still build something real. Now, once you see what the AI race is actually about, the winners list gets way shorter, like 5 names short. And I want to flag something before we even get into this, because the timing, I think, is almost too perfect. Only a few days ago, while the whole world was watching the OpenAI story, Elon Musk quietly launched a chip manufacturing plant in Austin, Texas, with a $20 billion price tag and a name that says everything about this ambition, the Terafab. I mean, I'm gonna get into that, and when we do, the whole picture will snap into focus for you, I promise. We need to start with this. Most people watching the AI space right now are focused on the one thing: which model is winning, whether it's GPT-5 versus Gemini 3.1 versus Llama 4, which scored higher on the benchmark this week, which API is cheapest. All these cool charts on Twitter, everyone argues, everyone has an opinion, but no one actually profits. But that framing, I believe, is backwards, especially for understanding where the money is going. The companies betting hundreds of billions of dollars are not competing on models. They are competing on resources, physical resources, things that you can actually touch, like land, like energy, like data centers, like chips. And yes, models as well, but not in the way that you think. Think back to the railroad era, 1870s America. Nobody got rich by arguing which train was faster, right? The real fortunes were built by the people who owned the tracks, the land, the fuel depots, the bridges, the infrastructure that every single train, whether it was fast or slow, old or new, it didn't matter, had to run on. The train was the product, the infrastructure was the power. And we are in the railroad era of AI right now. And the companies that are spending hundreds of billions of dollars, they are not competing on the models, you see? They are competing on those physical resources, things that they can build. And I think there is a second thing happening at the same time. It's not just a race to own the infrastructure, but it's a race to become the layer that everyone else depends on. And I'm gonna explain this in a moment. A lot of people building AI businesses are completely blind to this. They are watching the trains instead of watching the tracks. So let me show you exactly what those tracks look like. And I think you will very quickly understand why Amazon and Nvidia and SoftBank wrote the checks, and why founders who only study prompts are studying the wrong layer. So there are 5 of them, in my opinion. I call this the 5-layer of AI control stack. Think of it as a pyramid, or better, a hamburger type of stack, okay? Each layer sits on top of the ones below it. And if you control a lower layer, you have leverage over everything above. Let's go from bottom to top. Layer 1 is land, physical land, real estate, geographic territory. The Stargate data center in Abilene, Texas, sits on 875 acres. And that is practically not a building. That is a campus the size of a small town. Governments around the world are now actively competing to give land away, offer tax breaks, fast-track permits because having AI infrastructure in your country is now considered a matter of economic sovereignty. Look at the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Japan. All of them are in that race, or some of them started in that race. Because if you control the land, you control the footprint. Now, layer number 2, energy. Because AI runs on power, enormous amounts of it. The Stargate facility alone will draw 1.2 gigawatts at full capacity. That is enough electricity to power 750,000 homes. Microsoft bought the rights to reopen 3 Mile Island, which is a nuclear plant. Google is signing contracts for small nuclear reactors. Amazon is acquiring data centers that are built next to existing power plants. That is not a coincidence, because no power means no AI. And the truth is that you cannot innovate your way out of physics, right? If your AI strategy does not include the word electricity, it's just a wish. It cannot be a strategy in this day and age. Layer number 3, data centers. This is where the compute actually lives. Okay, the AI factories, like Jensen Huang calls them. Stargate 1 is live in Abilene. 1 building online, another almost complete, and 5 new sites announced. Nearly 7 gigawatts of planned capacity total. These are not data centers in the old way or in the old sense. They are power plants that think, and they cost between 5 to 20 billion each one to build. So layer 3 is being constructed at a pace that no one expected even a couple of years ago. Now, layer number 4 are chips, because you cannot train AI without chips. And right now, one company controls that layer basically more completely than any company has controlled any technology in history, NVIDIA. Their Blackwell Ultra chips just launched. They're 1.5 times more performant than the previous generation. And there is $1 trillion worth of projected orders through 2027. The reason is CUDA, NVIDIA's programming framework. Every AI developer on the planet has built their code on top of it. And switching costs are enormous. That is why layer 4 is NVIDIA's. For now, I'll come back to that. Layer 5 is models. This is the LLM layer, okay? GPT, Gemini, Claude, Llama, the intelligence itself. And the thing about layer 5 that maybe people don't recognize yet is that it is being commoditized from 3 directions simultaneously. From above, OpenAI is racing to stay ahead and raising historic amounts of capital to do it. From the side, because Meta released Llama 4, which is open source, so free to download, deploy it yourself. And from below, lower cost players like DeepSeek are forcing the entire market downward when it comes to price. DeepSeek is charging 28 cents per million tokens, 28 cents. That's crazy. So basically, the intelligence layer is not where the durable competitive advantage is being built for most companies. It is just becoming infrastructure, something that you build on. It's not somewhere where most businesses can sustainably compete. So here is what I believe the map shows us. Layer 1 through 4 are being locked up by trillion-dollar companies right now. You're not going to compete there. But layer 5 and everything above, which I'll come to, that is still wide open. That is where your business lives. Now, I want to show you the 2 competing strategies that are playing out at the top of this stack. And almost no one is naming them clearly. But I think understanding which strategy you are watching completely changes how you read every AI headline going forward. Strategy number 1 is the ecosystem play. This is OpenAI's bet. Okay, they just raised 110 billion from Amazon and Nvidia and SoftBank, their cloud provider, their chip maker, and their infrastructure partner. And like I said, this is not accidental. What OpenAI is building is a web of mutual dependency. Amazon wants AI workloads, Nvidia wants model demand big enough to justify trillion-dollar infrastructure spend. And SoftBank has staked its second act on AI infrastructure and AI returns. And obviously, Microsoft wants OpenAI inside an economic structure that still reinforces Azure and enterprise distribution and platform leverage. So everyone is codependent. Everyone has skin in the game, and everyone is hedging. And I think you need to see that these are not clean alliances. They are unstable alliances, in my opinion. And the reason why I'm saying that is because partners, suppliers, customers, and competitors, sometimes all at once, are inside this type of alliance. And I mean, when your competitors and your suppliers both invest in you at the same time, you have stopped being a normal company. You have become a node of the infrastructure. And OpenAI is betting that no single player can own all 5 layers. So instead of owning everything, you become the most important node in the network and you make everyone else depend on you, right? So that is strategy 1. Now, strategy number 2 is the vertical integration play. And this is Elon's bet. And it is, I think, the more dramatic story. Because if you look back, in February 2026, SpaceX and xAI merged. Combined valuation was $1.25 trillion. Tesla invested $2 billion into xAI. Grok, which is xAI's model, now runs inside Optimus robots and Tesla cars. And then a few days ago, Terafab was announced. And if you haven't seen the news, Terafab is a 20 to 25 billion chip manufacturing plant on the North Campus of Giga Texas in Austin. They are looking to produce 2 nanometer chips, the most advanced commercially available to date. The target output is 100 to 200 billion chips per year. Now, I want you to think about what that actually means, okay? So Tesla is designing its own chips, building its own factory to manufacture them, running its own AI models on those chips, deploying those models in its own vehicles and robots, and then distributing those products through platforms and networks that Elon already controls, as well as over Starlink satellites that it also owns. So, simply put, land, energy, data centers, chips, models, all 5 layers under one single ecosystem, plus distribution. Elon Musk is the only person on Earth right now with a credible path to owning the entire stack through major vertical control. This is not a company. This is an operating system for a civilization, or at least for multiple physical industries at once. Okay, let's not get too dramatic. Now, Google is building vertically too, but in a different way. And I actually think that people are underestimating how dangerous Google is in this race. Because Google's advantage is not just Gemini performance. It is that Google can push AI into search, into Chrome, into Workspace, into Maps, into Android, into YouTube, and the default habits of billions of users. Gemini 3.1 just scored 77.1 on Arc AGI 2, the hardest reasoning benchmark in the world. They have data centers, Google Cloud, TPUs, they have DeepMind, they have YouTube data. They are, in my opinion, quietly assembling their own version of the stack. That is not just model competition. That is distribution power. Meta is going horizontal. Llama 4 open source, free for everyone to use. Their bet is that commoditizing the model layers makes their ad business stronger and weakens closed model pricing power. And NVIDIA is trying to move up the stack. Microsoft is trying to defend the API and the enterprise layer while still benefiting from OpenAI's upside. Okay, so Google is trying to own default usage. Meta is trying to cheapen the model layer. Elon is trying to vertically integrate the full system. But ultimately, everyone is moving fast. And here's what happened in my community when I laid this out. Someone actually put their hand up and said, Laura, okay, this is all fascinating, but I'm not Amazon, I'm not Elon Musk. What do I actually do with this? How does this help me pay my bills? And I think that is a brilliant question and absolutely the right one, because in all of this motion, all of this trillion-dollar competition, there is a gap being left behind, a real one, and I think also a massive one. So let me decode this layer by layer and what I see as the power moves at each layer for you and me. Okay? Layers 1 through 3, so land, energy, and data centers. We're not playing here. That is not a limitation. I believe it's a gift. Because here's what's happening as a side effect of all this infrastructure spending. Compute is getting cheaper. Cloud costs are falling. API costs are dropping every single quarter. So the infrastructure being built at the cost of hundreds of billions of dollars is being handed to you and I in the form of cheaper, faster, more capable APIs. Now we are basically the beneficiaries of this arms race without having to fight in it. Layer 4, chips. I think we need to watch Terafab. And here's why. NVIDIA's monopoly has been real for almost a decade, but it's a monopoly of training compute. No monopoly stays static forever. And one of the most important pressure points is inference. What Tesla is building at Terafab is inference chips, the chips that you use when AI is running and not learning anymore. That is the chip demand that scales with adoption. Every Tesla vehicle, every Optimus robot, every edge device, if Tesla succeeds at manufacturing the 2 nanometer inference chips at scale, it is the first credible disruption of NVIDIA's dominance in a decade. And that does not put NVIDIA out of business, don't worry, but it does change the price of everything. The disruption of that monopoly means one thing for us: cheaper inference, lower cost per AI call, better margins on all of our AI products. Cheaper products mean more adoption. More adoption means more niches become economically viable. So that is how billion-dollar markets get created, by cost curves. And you don't need to invest in chips. I'm not telling you to do that. Just watch this layer because it directly affects your cost structure. Now, layer number 5, models. Here is the single most important mindset shift that I can give you about models. Stop trying to pick a winner, all right? Start building for portability and flexibility. Gemini 3.1 costs $2 per million tokens for the flashlight version. Llama 4 is free if you self-host. DeepSeek is 28 cents per million token. OpenAI's O3 is the most capable and the most expensive. Model capability will keep moving. Model pricing will keep moving. Vendor relationships will keep moving. The right move is to architect your business so that you can swap models as pricing and capability will shift, because they will. I promise you, keep shifting. So what you can do is use premium models for high-stakes reasoning tasks where quality is the most important, and you can use cheaper or open models for high-volume, cost-sensitive operations. And you can use the model that best fits the workflow, not the one with the loudest hype cycle. You can think of models the same way that you think of electricity providers. You do not marry one. You buy the cheapest reliable kilowatt that gets the job done, but it goes deeper than that. I believe that beyond layer 5, there is another one, the application layer, because control is shifting to whoever becomes the access point. Not necessarily the browser, not necessarily search, and not necessarily the office suite. The real question is who sits closest to the user, the data, and the decision. Who becomes the layer that people rely on to get work done, and who becomes too embedded to replace. Sometimes that is a hyperscaler. Sometimes that's a model company, and increasingly, sometimes that is a bespoke vertical solution that is built for a very specific use case. This is where I want you to plant your flag. A recent study found that 93% of small businesses that adopted AI saw revenue grow. 82% reduced operating costs, and the ROI is proven, okay? It's not theoretical anymore. And yet most SMBs still have nobody helping them implement. Most of them are using AI the way that they used to use internet in 1997. They had a website that's not actually doing business on it, right? That gap between what AI can do and what most businesses are actually doing with it, that is our market. The specific opportunity that I want you to hear is that generic AI is a commodity. A vertical AI agent does one thing for one specific industry exceptionally well and gets embedded into the actual workflow. So the real opportunity for us is not just the vertical AI, it is owning the workflow, owning trust, owning the feedback loop that improves the system over time. It's basically a legal intake agent that qualifies clients, extracts case details, and drafts the first memo. It's a real estate listing agent that writes the property description, the email sequence, and the social posts. It's a healthcare patient onboarding agent that handles forms and insurance checks and appointment prep. You see, it has to be domain specific, premium pricing, high retention, because you are not selling software. You are selling a result. So this is the layer the trillion-dollar companies are not focused on. They're fighting over the rails. You're running the trains. And if you can combine that with trust, niche expertise, and real implementation, you have something that the trillion-dollar players are too horizontal to deliver elegantly. So what do you actually do with this? 3 concrete moves, I believe. Let me give you them clearly. Move number 1, own the application layer in your niche. All right, so pick a vertical, pick 3 repetitive, time-consuming workflows inside that vertical, build AI agents around those specific workflows. The infrastructure is literally being built for you. The models are getting cheaper every quarter. Your job is not to build the intelligence, it's to deploy it where it creates the most impact and value for a specific group of people who will pay for that result. When implemented well in the right niche, this can become a high-ticket retainer business. I mean, obviously results depend on your niche and your implementation and how well you know the client's workflow, but the economics are real and the demand is only growing. Now, model number 2, diversify your model stack. If you are building any AI product right now, ask yourself this question. If one provider raised prices by 50% tomorrow, what breaks in my business? And you need to map your current AI dependencies, then identify where you could swap in a cheaper or open source alternative without meaningfully degrading the output. It's not about abandoning only that provider. It's about not being held hostage by any single vendor in a layer that is actively being commoditized. And then move number 3, become the trusted guide. The AI landscape is more confusing than ever. New models come out more frequently than every quarter, probably every month at this point. Mergers and pivots happen every month. The noise level is increasing, definitely not decreasing. The person who cuts through that noise, the real context, real community, real frameworks, commands premium prices that no model update can commoditize. Distribution plus trust plus niche expertise. That combination cannot be replicated by Amazon or Nvidia or Elon Musk. That is your competitive advantage. And one more thing, do not ignore the policy layer, all right? Government rules, enterprise compliance, procurement standards, industry regulation, they are increasingly shaping who can deploy what, where, and for whom. If you can build in a way that is compliant, trusted, and easy for a real business to adopt, you become dramatically more valuable. This is exactly what we work on inside the AI Business Trailblazers Hive, our free community. We figure out where you specifically fit in this landscape and build the systems to capitalize on it. The link is in the description as well as here in the QR code if you want to be part of this community. As I said, it's free. And if you take away one thing from this video, let it be this. The companies spending trillions are not your competition. They are building the rails. Your job is to run the best trains, okay? If you want to go deeper on this, how to actually pick your vertical, build your first agent, land your first retainer client, you can also join us in the AI Founders Hive. The link is also in the description as well as at the QR code. That is where this map turns into a business. But I'm gonna leave you with one more thing. We talked today about the 5 layers, okay? We talked about which layer you should build on, but here's the question that I have not answered yet. And honestly, it might be the more important one. How do you go about infusing AI and automation into a business? I shared my 3 simple step approach in this video. That's coming next, and I'll see you there.